What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, I want to answer a question that comes up pretty often. I want to talk about the best as well as the worst places that you can meet great quality men. All right, so I'm going to start with talking about some of the worst places that people find, unfortunately, popular these days to meet people, meet men and women. And then I'm going to give you a few examples and some general guidelines to some of the best places to meet great quality men and women in this day and age specifically. So let's start with the worst places. All right, so before I even dive into it, one of the things that I wanted to mention, when I talk about meeting people, I'm talking about, and this is what this channel is mostly all about, meeting people with the intention of building a long-term, committed, romantic relationship, right? I'm not just talking because you can meet people for a whole bunch of different reasons. You can meet people for hookups. You can meet people, for friendships. You can meet people for like literally anything in between. What I'm talking about is specifically, ladies, if you are interested in meeting a man with the intention of building a long-term, committed, romantic relationship with them, let's talk about some of the worst places. And the number one on my list really goes down to anything that involves alcohol, anything at night. So that kind of like, I want to put everything in the same category, not just talking about bars. I'm talking about like any sort of restaurants, that you stay, especially like things that you stay in like late night. And there's alcohol involved. I'm talking about any sort of like events that people go to, whether that's, like a special, concert or something. Again, anything that is happening in the evening after the sun is down, anything that's happened at night, and there's alcohol involved. Because again, people get very specific with like the specific things. Oh, I don't go to bars, but I go to clubs, or I don't go to clubs, I go to like dive bars, or I go to just like concerts and like music events or whatever. I don't really see in terms of that for the purposes of the exercise of potentially going out there with the intention that you could also meet someone that you could, be in a relationship with. I feel like those are some of the worst places. The reason why, right? The reason for that, because even if, like, let's say the people who are there might genuinely could potentially be that person for you, I feel like where you meet matters. And I feel like if you meet someone, late at night, and if you meet someone, again, when there's alcohol involved, even if you're not like, under the influence, even if you're not drunk and they're not drunk, that's not as important. People get very, again, specific on because I hear it all the time in my coaching sessions. Like, yeah, but, I wasn't drunk and he wasn't. It doesn't really matter. It's the premise of your meetup that generally will have an influence, especially at these early stages, the first meeting, right? Like, because how you meet someone for the first time really matters, right? So it's going to create a certain dynamic right from the beginning of how you met, and that's again, it's not impossible to change that, right? And I'm sure there are people out there, or maybe people are watching this video, be like, I met my husband, or blah blah blah, at a club, at a bar, or whatever. It's possible, but that's the exceptions to the rule. That's not the rule. Most of the time, by far most of the time, generally speaking, if you meet in these types of environments, the whole premise to meet is for something not as long term. So people late at night, especially under the influence or some sort of influence of alcohol at these hours of the night, most of the time, what takes over when we're tired, when it's dark, when we're dressed up a certain way because it's that type of a venue, right? The intentions are usually a lot more short term. So we're looking for more of a hookup. Most men out there who are looking, at women at these places are not looking at them from like, hey, is this a potential relationship? They're just really looking at the physical component and assessing whether or not they would want to sleep with you. Now, again, is it possible that you would sleep with each other even on the first night? And yes, it's possible, but is it highly unlikely? Yes, it's also highly unlikely. And the majority of the time, the vast majority of the time, that's not going to be the end result. So you want to make sure that you have the odds in your favor, not against you. So anything, again, that's late at night with the alcohol involved. And again, the alcohol just adds to that whole energy when we are looking for someone, again, for a very short term, for the night. We're looking for the night, not our life partner in this situation. So I would, again, advise against any sort of things like that. So like saying like, oh, I never meet anyone good. I go to like bars all the time and there's plenty of men out there. Yeah, there might be plenty of men out there. And again, there might even be that great guy that you can also meet somewhere else. But because you specifically met that guy, right, at the bar, because you met him at the club, chances are that you are already right? Jeopardizing the potential eventuality of it turning into a long-term relationship. He's going to look for a very different type of thing, right? And you might be looking for something different, again, because of where you meet them. So again, I would avoid anything that's late at night and that includes alcohol. You tell me in the comments what some of these things are, because again, like bars, restaurants that happen late at night, any sort of music events or whatever, I'm sure there's a bunch of other examples. You can leave them in the comments if you want to help other people. All right, so number 2 on my list of worst places to meet great quality men often even overlaps with the first one we talked about, where it's like late at night and involves alcohol. But anything that you feel like you need to bring, or anything that you would normally bring a bunch of your friends to that thing. So again, if it's a specific type of event, if it's some sort of like a thing that's going on, and you're bringing, whether again it's like an artist that came in to do a big concert or whatever, and you're are in a position in a situation where you're bringing your girlfriend and maybe that other friend, and you're going in with a group of girls, or just in a group of people, whether that's family or friends or whatever, are probably some of the worst places. I want to tell you something, ladies. The I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but the probability of you being approached by a man when you are somewhere alone is relatively high. But if you are there with one more person, if let's say you got a girlfriend with you, the chances of you being approached by the same man drop significantly. And if you're there with a group of people, so you're there with more than one person, the chances of you being approached by a man just drop to like insanely like single digits. Right, and this is nothing to say about the confident, you know what I mean, whether or not the man is confident or not. It's just generally with men, they will just not approach if they feel like if they feel like they would be bothering you. So if you're there having a conversation with a girlfriend, the probability of you being approached by a man is extremely low. So anything that you feel like, oh, I could go to these places, but I always go with like a group, because I hear it all the time. Again, one of the things that I often hear is like, well, I do a lot to meet men, Lion. And I'm like, well, give me an example. Like, oh, like yesterday we went to this event, to this birthday party, with my friend, blah, 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 and this friend and that friend. And then like the day before we went out to celebrate, my coworkers, this and that. And we were like a whole group of girls, and there were like some cute guys, but all of these things, right, are terrible ways to meet men, because the probability of, even if that guy was there, the probability of them, actually reaching out to you, actually, connecting with you, actually trying to have a conversation with you is extremely low. The only guys that are there and don't care about how many people you're with is not the type of guy that you want to potentially build a relationship with. We're talking about the very tiny percentage of men who are there at these events, at these things, who approach every woman without discrimination. It is not because they have chosen you. It's because they're just literally going from table to table, from person to person, trying to talk to as many people as possible. To them, it's a numbers game. All right. So these guys you're not interested in. Trust me, you're not interested in anyway. But the guys who are, you are and could be potentially interested in, they will never approach you if you're there with another person, let alone if you're there with more than one person. So anything that you feel like, oh, I need to come in with my tribe, I need to come in with my entourage, I need to come in with a lot of friends, terrible places. I'm not saying don't do these things. I mean, obviously it's great to celebrate your friend's birthday and whatever, but don't feel like that's something that will help you, or potentially something that creates a situation or opportunity to meet people. It's really not. And number 3, and again, this kind of overlaps with some of the previous things that I talked about today, but anything that's a one-off event. So a lot of people, again, give me examples of places and things that they do in order to meet people, and they often mention these one-off things. So like a one-off competition, so they went and they did like, I don't know, like those like Spartan races, or they did like, they went to a comedy show, or they went to, again, anything that's kind of like just happens one time, or like, oh no, Beyonce was in the city, or they went to a Taylor Swift concert, or whatever it is, right? Anything that happens that one time creates way too much pressure. Right? Even if you go alone, and even if it's during the day and there's no alcohol involved, but it's a one-off event, chances are you're not going to really create a long-lasting connection. There's way too much pressure on you. There's way too much pressure on the other person to need to create this romantic connection way too quickly. So anything that happens like this one-off things are, generally speaking, not the best ways to meet. Again, not saying that you shouldn't do them at all. Maybe there's a great event that you can, go to, but don't count on these things as potential ways to meet men. All right, so now that we talked about some of the worst places and the worst things that you can do to meet men, let's talk about some of the best things. And the number 1 on my list is basically trying to look within yourself and your own interests, your own hobbies, and trying to align the things that already interest you, the things that you are already, either doing already or would want to do or would want to learn, and then trying to incorporate that with meeting people. So let's say, for example, you're someone who likes to go on runs, right? You're someone who wakes up in the morning and goes on a run, or you come back from work and you know what I mean? Like you drop your stuff at home, you change, and then you go for a run around the neighborhood. Let's say you're that kind of person. The easiest way for you to meet men would be to look for a running group or anything that has to do with this, or any other interest that you have, any other hobby that you have, whether that's martial arts, whether that's tennis, whether that's pickleball, whether that's, whatever that is, right? And joining groups, joining any sort of classes or associations or whatever, where you would do these activities with other people. And again, I would really highly recommend that you don't bring a friend with you, that you do it alone. Obviously stay safe, and obviously make sure that you're going to a place that you know what I mean? Like that is safe. Like don't go to places that it's like, oh, we meet up every, I don't know, Saturday night at 2 o'clock in the morning at some dark alley. Obviously, do your research and make sure that you're going to places where you would feel safe as a woman. But don't drag your friends. Don't try to go there with a whole bunch of people just so you get that safety blanket with you. You don't need that. It only stops you from really connecting with other people. So anything that's already in alignment with some of your own and existing hobbies, interests is a great way to meet amazing, because you already have something in common. You already have something to talk about. You already have something that unites you, and more likely than not, you will have similar interests, that you will have a similar lifestyle, and all of these things that really help with the compatibility of building a long-term healthy romantic relationship. Now, number 2 on my list is probably the easiest thing that you can start doing and implementing in order to meet great quality people, is look within your existing day-to-day life and look at the things that you already are doing. Right? So many people like try to separate for some reason that their love lives, their dating lives with their rest of their lives. And they're like, oh, well, I do these things for these reasons, not to meet people. And I feel like they're just holding themselves back. You know what I mean? Life is short and we're all busy. And the older we get, the more responsibilities, the more things are going on in our lives. Why make it even harder? When people tell me things like, oh, I never like try to meet anybody at the gym because the gym is for working out. I'm like, okay, great. Work out. You know what I mean? Like the gym has been a huge part of my life. I met great friends. I've dated people. You know what I mean? Like I've both men and women that I've met through the gym that have been a part of my life for a very long time. You know what I mean? And I feel like we already have a similar interest. We already like the same kind of stuff. We have things that we can talk about. We can help each other within the gym. You know what I mean? We can support each other through the process of whatever it is we're trying to accomplish within our fitness, right? Why not connect potentially also romantically if the opportunity presents itself? So looking at the things that you already are doing throughout your life and then trying to see like, hey, am I just maximizing being able to actually meet people, right? So if you show up to the gym and you're like, oh, like you have your baseball cap like really down low, you know what I mean? You have like your headphones, and then you're just looking down at the floor and you're going from one thing to the other, and you don't look at anyone, you don't make eye contact, you don't smile at anyone, you never say hello to anyone. Yeah, you're shooting yourself in the foot. Again, this is something that you are spending so much of. Like, I'm not saying that you should go to the gym with only the intention of meeting people. I'm not saying that you should go there for the social aspect and nothing else. I'm not saying like go to the gym, don't work out, but just go and chat with people. Absolutely not. That's not what I'm saying. Right? But you can combine a little bit of this and a little bit of that. You can have a couple of exchanges on words with someone from the gym. You can, just take the time when you going through the gym to just smile and make eye contact with maybe a guy that you would potentially want to get to know. You know what I mean? And take a few seconds to just say hi and how you doing, and like, you know what I mean? Like maybe exchange information and talk to each other afterwards. Like, right? Don't stop yourself from doing that. This whole excuse that I often hear, yeah, but what if it doesn't work out? And then I have to go to I have to change my gym and whatever. I'm like, that's stupid. That applies to literally anything else. So does that mean that you would never date anyone that, lives in your area? Because if you do, like, God forbid that you're going with your car, like you're coming back home from work and he's there like watering his lawn, and what does that mean? That you have to absolutely move to a different neighborhood, to a different city? No, like maybe someone that lives in your apartment building that you met at the elevator and then you won't date them because no. Right? Someone that you met at school, at university class, or like, whatever it is. Someone that you met at work, you know what I mean? Like you can work at a bigger company and there's a bunch of people there and you potentially connect with someone. why are you limiting yourself? The only person, right, that's standing in between you and the love life that you want is yourself. Stop trying to limit yourself just to try to, create excuses to why you're not getting what you want in dating, or to try to protect your ego, right? Things are going to work out with some people, things are not going to work out with other people, right? It shouldn't bother you unless you allow it to bother you. So don't limit yourself. The gym, from personal experience, right? As someone who's been a part. The gym has been part of my life for a very, very long time. Do you know what I mean? It's definitely not, and not just the gym. I've been doing a lot, at the gym, and I've also been doing a lot of martial arts throughout my life, and both of those things are great ways to potentially meet great quality people. Again, not just romantically, otherwise as well, friendships, everything, but romantically as well. So again, look at the things that you are already doing throughout your life, whether that's the gym, whether that's, even going to the grocery store. If that's a part of your weekly, whatever, so many people say like, yeah, but I'm at the grocery store. Like, I'm not going to really dress up, and I'm not going to really make sure that you show up in a way that, again, you expect, for good things to happen to you, right? Don't separate the rest of your life from your dating life, and only like, okay, now I'm going to get ready. Now I'm going to do this only because I'm going to this party and there might be men there. No, there are men everywhere, right? So maximize the opportunities throughout your existing life. Otherwise, you're just basically wasting all of these potentially really great opportunities to meet people. So look throughout your existing, schedule and your day-to-day life, and see whether or not there are things there that you can gently tweak and change in order to maximize the opportunities to meet people. And number 3, and this one, I feel like for a lot of people is a controversial one, but it really isn't. And I can vouch for that from my personal experience. But use social media to your advantage. So many people I see, especially people who are following me on Instagram, I think that most women who follow me on Instagram have these private profiles. And I'm like, okay, well, you are looking for potentially building a relationship with someone. You are looking to create more opportunities and you want to meet people. Why is your profile private? You know what I mean? Like, why? I can tell you for a fact, again, from personal experience, I've met a ton of people online. And again, not just for romantic purposes, but also just friendships, also business partnerships, so many opportunities out there online, especially if that's something that you tend to spend some time on, especially if you spend a few hours throughout your week on social media. Why not allow it to be another way to potentially meet people? People are going to see you. People are going to reach out to you. Again, I'm not saying everybody's going to reach out to you. Trust me, I get a lot of DMs that I ignore. I get a lot of DMs that I delete. I get a lot of people that I've blocked, in my past. A lot of people that I've blocked. And that's completely okay. You know what I mean? Like, it's a numbers game, but at least I am maximizing all the opportunities that I possibly can by just making myself more open towards that eventuality, right? Like, opportunities only happen to those who are ready for them. Opportunities only happen to those who, make these opportunities happen, who allow these opportunities to happen. So if your profile is private and you don't really go out very much, and every time you do, you always drag a friend with you, and every time you do that, it's always some, at night thing and whatever, stop trying to tell yourself that you don't have time to date. You're just not maximizing, and you're not allowing yourself to really create these opportunities to meet great quality people, right? Online is a great way if you do it the right way, right? You populate your profiles with the right type of pictures, so you're getting the right type of attention, right? You communicate with people the right type of way. Again, and I talk a lot about that in my coaching sessions. But it's definitely a great way to attract people, to have conversations with people, to open up opportunities for a potential relationship, right? Don't waste it. Especially if, again, you're doing something creative and you're building something and you have a channel. I feel like that's the best way. People are going to gravitate towards you. And the majority of the people who do gravitate towards you are going to, already align with you in so many ways, right? People who reach out to me in my DMs for either collaborations or, even for romantic purposes, right? I feel like they already are in alignment with me on so many things, right? I find myself like connecting to people who already think like me, who already have a similar lifestyle to me, who prioritize the same things, who have similar values to me. So it's such a great way to just kind of like create that and create that net and allow people to just jump into it instead of, always having to be like on the hunt. Every time we go out to a restaurant or to a bar, we're like on the hunt. I just like put out that net. I create my channel. I put out the stuff that I want to put that aligns with the type of attention that I want to get. Again, this is very important that you use it the right way. There's a correct way and there's an incorrect way to use, social media and online apps or whatever in order to connect with people. But online communities, online apps, social media apps, all of these things are a great way because people are on them, right? And it's you, if you're on there, there are great quality people and men on the other side who are also on these things, right? So don't misuse that, right? So many people are just like, I'm like, why? Why are you limiting yourself? What are you afraid of? I'm like, oh yeah, but I have pictures of my nieces and my children and all of these. I'm like, okay, create another profile. Create a profile just for dating then. Or remove these pictures of your nephews or your daughter. Like if they're not, why are you putting it there only to have it? If you want to exchange something with just your family, create another page for just your family. Use Facebook for just your family. You know what I mean? Use Instagram for other things. Like people are just limiting themselves, and the excuses that I hear of why they're doing that just make no sense to me. I'll be honest with you. I have a public profile that you can see, my Instagram page that you can see, where I only share stuff about, that's related to what I do and related to dating and related to relationships, which is my professional page. And I also have a page that you don't have. I have a personal, and don't start looking for it, but I have a personal Instagram page. And this is the stuff that I share only with my, close friends and with my family. And that's it. You know what I mean? So you can use it. Like you're the only one, if you're creating all of these excuses of why you shouldn't have a public page, Instagram, YouTube, whatever, any social media app is a great way to potentially meet and connect with people. They're literally made for that. So if you're using it the right way, you are going to connect with great quality people. So hopefully this video gives you a little bit of clarity and gives you a few ideas and things that you need to work on. Let me know in the comments, based on today's video, what do you feel like you are going to start doing more of or less of starting today or starting tomorrow to create more opportunities in order to meet great quality men? I'll talk to you guys in my next video.